You have asked for yourself understanding to discern what is right. These words of the Lord to Solomon we hear on the 17th Sunday in Ordinary Time. And they are an appraisal of Solomon's request for wisdom. To be able to discern what is right or good is a value of the kingdom of heaven. And so the kingdom of heaven is compared with a net filled with a catch of fish, of which the good are kept and the bad are thrown away. Just last week I received 25 kilos of green pepper. For easier handling, we measure them on the scale and put every 1 kilo of green peppers into a plastic bag. Sadly enough, 2 days later, many got spoiled because of the heat. And so we sorted out the bad ones. However, the lady helping me did not throw away the bad ones, but kept them for later blending and use. Indeed, in these times of economic downturn and even hardships, we learn to be more shrewd in what we keep and what we reuse and what can be recycled. Shrewdness, wisdom, and a discerning mind. It are all graces bestowed upon us. Graces for which we can pray and ask, as did King Solomon. And how happy the Lord was with this request. When we read in the scriptures about discernment, it is about the will of God. The will of God is that all people be reconciled to Him and be saved. And although the bad fishes were thrown away, the bad peppers were set apart for later blending and use. And this reminds us of God's patience with us and love for us. God does not simply erase us. In His great wisdom, He uses every way and means to save us, even if this meant the giving up of His only Son on the cross. Truly, God's folly is wiser than human wisdom, and Christ is both the power of God and the wisdom of God. The Apostle Paul works God's will further out in his letter to the Romans with the words, predestination, our call, justification, and glorification. As for this, Thomas Aquinas teaches us, God's will is always fulfilled, but at the same time, man retains his free choice in his actions. The ultimate consequence of this is that man is responsible for his own damnation. This too is justice, as the sinner falls away from the divine will by sinning. But he falls back into the divine will when by justice he is punished. With this we see the need of discernment, the need to discern the will of God, so as not to fall away from it. Solomon, with all his wisdom, was not God, but by being able to discern the will of God, he could trace and keep himself and others on the right track. And if someone had left the right track, he could help him to come back. That all be saved is God's general will. What is God's specific will for you? God's specific will does not contradict His general will. Or in other words, what is God calling you to do with your life? This is not about asking yourself, who am I? But for whom am I? Pope Francis answered this with, of course you are for God, but He has decided that you should also be for others. And He has given you many qualities, inclinations, gifts and charisms that are not for you, but to share with those around you. And so it is for King Solomon. His God-given gift of wisdom is to govern the people of God. Discerning the will of God brings us to the discernment of spirits. Spirits we distinguish by their fruits. And so in the words of the parable, bad fish are produced by bad spirits, and good fish are produced by the good or Holy Spirit. And the human spirit might be inclined to evil or to good. Which spirit is moving you? Your desires and your thoughts. Are all of these from the good spirit, from the Lord? For this, test the spirits. If what you desire or what you think leads you to humility and service of others, it is of the good spirit, the spirit of the Lord. If it leads you to self-importance or pride, it is not of the Lord. Surely the will of God is not brought to you on a silver platter. It is to be discerned. It is not too much to say that right now many people are struggling or even trying to survive in the face of sky-high prices and even basic necessities, giving way to fears and frustrations. What is wisdom here? Wisdom here is to become familiar with appreciative discernment. Appreciative discernment means to focus on what is positive and life-giving, on what is going well. It means to focus on your strength, on what good things happened in the past and are happening now, on opportunities for the future. And so we have the words of Saint John the 23rd. Consult not your fears, but your hopes and your dreams. Think not about your frustrations, but about your unfulfilled potential. Concern yourself not with what you tried and failed in, but with what is still possible for you to do. Appreciative discernment involves taking responsibility for and using the gifts God has given you. It also involves discerning the gifts of the other and to use them for the building up of God's kingdom. Because this is the treasure we are working for, that thy kingdom come, O Lord.